everyone. Good morning. Today we are going to talk about cost and schedule control, earned value analysis. Previously, we talked about one of the project control, which the cumulative S curve. The S curve is a very essential project manager's tool to monitor the status of the project, whether we are above the curve or below the curve, which signify that we are behind or whether we are under budget or over budget. Now for this lesson, it serves the same purpose as well too. However, we will be comparing several numbers of key elements here to tell us whether our project is ahead of schedule or behind schedule, whether we are over budget or under budget. This is what we call as the concept of the earned value analysis. The earned value analysis is that a contractor earn whatever amount was budgeted for the work that has been completed. That's basically the concept of the earned value. The earned value analysis is also used to determine the status or stage of completion of the project. This is very essential because when you are having a weekly meeting, your clients or the stakeholders might be interested of asking what is the status of the project. A lot of time we usually answer them in terms of percentage of completion. Say for example, oh, it's about 25% complete, 45% complete. So how would you know that it is within those percentage of completion? Well, the earned value analysis will help us answer those questions. Okay, the earned value concept compares several measures to obtain an overall picture of the project status. This particular concept, the earned value method, was developed in mid-70s to late 70s by the U.S. Department of Defense. Alright, so what is earned value? It refers to the determinations of how much work has been performed on the basis of what was budgeted for the work that has actually been completed. So in this particular case, we're comparing to a given baseline to what is being actual. The baseline is actually the original schedule that we develop at the beginning based on the estimate that we use for the bidding, and we compare that to the ongoing construction of the project. So we compare those two and we will see the variance or the status of the project as we compare that to what we ideally created at the beginning. So that's pretty much the earned value analysis. So in this particular diagram here, we have the cost production unit and we have the time. So pretty much we have this S curve that we have learned from the previous videos that we have. So here we will be plotting in those different values, which we call them the ACWP, BCWP, BCWS, and some other terms. And that's actually what we have on the next slide. So what is baseline? As I explained to you in our lecture, the baseline corresponds to the reference. It provides a snapshot of the project as compared to where you at and where you are supposed to be. So based on the preconceived schedule at the beginning. Okay? So that is a baseline. Now we have 6 parameters that we will be looking at. Some of those are already showing up here: the BCWS, the ACWP, and the BCWP. Okay, so we have all of those here. We have those 6. Okay, we have the budgeted cost, actual. We have here the actual cost of work performed, the estimated cost at completion, the actual quantity of work performed, and the budgeted cost of work performed. Okay, and by the way, you have also your supplementary documents that is part of your Blackboard on your module, and the lesson module. You should be able to download that and read it. It guides you how to create the earned value calculations and analysis. It defines some of these terms and it gives you a step-by-step procedure on how to apply the earned value analysis. So how do we measure whether a particular project is behind, or if it is ahead of schedule, or if it is under budget or over budget? Well, we have here some criteria that we need to use to calculate and compare that, whether it is behind, ahead, under, or over budget. So we will be comparing. We have several things here. We have the first one is the SV, the schedule variance. It is a difference between the budgeted cost of work performed minus the budgeted cost of work schedule. So to explain this one, the budget cost of work performed, that is actually the one that you actually perform. This one here, that is the cost of what has been scheduled at that particular point in time. Okay. All right. So it has here a comparison. We have here, if the SV is greater than 0, that means you are ahead of schedule. However, if it is less than 0, you are behind schedule. So that's the first. This what we call as the schedule variance. Now for the cost variance, we compare with the budgeted cost of work performed, and we have the actual cost of work performed. Okay, a lot of those, it is the job of the project manager to determine those. What was that budgeted cost of work performed? Okay, and what is the actual cost at that particular point in time. So if that CV is greater than 0, it is under budget, and if it is CV is less than 0, that is over budget. So take note of those. We have several other here in terms of percentage of schedule variance. So we have here 100 times SV schedule variance, the one that we calculated here previously, divided by BCWS, that gives you the percentage of, if you are interested, what's the percentage of variance of what is the baseline and what is the actual. So you should be able to calculate that based from this formula number 3. The same thing also with the cost variance, that is based on formula number 4, having the cost variance that you have calculated here on the second. Okay, and plug in here to this equation, and that will give you the cost variance. Now we have also here what we call as the schedule performance index, pretty much the same as the first two formulas that we have, which will tell us whether we are behind or ahead of schedule. We just need to take the ratio between those two values, take note of the sign of the BCWP. If your SPI is greater than 1, that signifies we are ahead of schedule, and if your SPI is less than 1, that signifies we are behind schedule. Alright, so we have several other here, the cost performance index as well. If we take the ratio of the two values here, make sure that you carry over the negative sign if there is a negative sign on the difference between your BCWP. So we have here the cost performance index. If that is greater than 1, it is under budget. CPI that is less than 1 should be over budget. Again, these two formulas, the 5 and 6, that must be consistent to your not assumption, but your status that is calculated on your number 1 and then number 2. So those are supposed to be consistent. If on your formula number 1 says that you are behind schedule, your formula number 5 should tell you also that is you are behind schedule. If your first formulas, number 1, says that you are ahead of schedule, well, on your number 5, it should tell you also that is ahead of schedule. They should not contradict, because you can use either of those two formulas to tell you whether you are behind, you're ahead, you're under, or over budget. So what about the earned value? That's a value that you have earned for that particular task or at that particular point in time. So we have here the project cost multiplied by the budgeted cost at completion, and the project cost is calculated by this ratio, and then multiply that with that one, and that will give you the earned value. We have also here the estimated cost at completion. We just add the actual cost of work performed and the difference between the budgeted cost at completion minus the budgeted cost of work performed. And this is the one that we usually interested with, especially when you are presenting the status of your project. The percentage of completion, that is simply the ratio between BCWP and the BCAC. So whatever the ratio here, multiply that by 100%, and that will tell you the percentage of completion. So those are the different terms that we use in the earned value analysis. The same thing also with the measurements that we use to tell us the status of the project. All right, so let's take a look at this problem here. Okay, we've given a project that consists of 12 activities for which the estimated cost and the duration is given on the table that follows on this slide. The project costs are estimated to be $257,000. The project is scheduled to be completed in 6 months. So that value, 257, that is the BCAC. This one here, the 257,000. And then after 3.5 months, that is the condition that at 3.5 months pass from the beginning, this is being completed. That's the actual. We have completed the site work, the excavation, the foundation, the fencing, the rough electrical are all completed. The framing is half completed. The rough plumbing is 3/4 completed. The paving is half completed. And the incurred cost to date, that is the 152,000. What is this value here? That is the actual cost of work performed. That is the recorded cost that you have on the logbook that has been tallied and calculated by the project manager. So we're asked to calculate or to determine the status of this project in terms of the schedule and the budget. That is the cost. So how do we approach that? So this is our schedule, the Gantt chart. It says here that we have finished 3.5 months, so it should be somewhere here. So we need to draw that vertical line. So this is now the solution. This vertical line here, that is the marker for your 3.5 months. Okay, based on schedule, these are supposed to be the activities that we already completed, and halfway with this, that is based on the baseline or based on the schedule. All right, let's take a look at how we calculate them. Of course, we have the given value, which is 152,000. That's on the given condition. That is what we call as the actual cost of work performed. That is the recorded cost that we have put into the logbook. And then we have also another given, that is the 257,000. That is the budgeted cost at completion. It indicated on the problem. All right, so we have here the budgeted cost of work performed. Work performed. What says here on the problem, these are the work performed. After 3.5 months, we have completed your site work, your excavation, foundation, fencing, rough electrical. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that has been completed. Okay, and it gives you here the values in each of those. Okay, all right. So I want you to pay attention. This is in a monthly basis, which means that those costs are in a monthly basis. If this shaded portion here, it's spanned all the way to the month, make sure that this value is divided into 2. So I repeat, in this particular problem here, all of this value, shaded portion here, those are all per month. However, if a particular activities is span 2 months, this value here should be divided into 2 to get the per month value. Alright? Okay, so again, let me go back. How many has been completed? Site work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 5 completed based on the actual. So in our calculation, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 completed. Where did we get those numbers? We get that from here. The site work, the fencing has been completed based on the given information here. And then the framing, the rough plumbing, and we have the paving. It says here half complete for your framing, 3/4 complete for your plumbing, half complete for your paving. So plug that into your calculation. That's why we have here 3/4 and we have here the half values. Okay, so that is the calculated values. Alright, so let me see. Alright, so I think I missed one of those. We have here half, 3/4, and the paving is also half. So I might miss one of those values here. So there should be another half value, which is half of your, it says here, half of your paving, and that is your, I'm sorry, on the paving here, that is, where's your paving? 18,000, okay, and we have also here half complete for your framing. So how much is your framing? The framing is 40,000. So I think I missed that portion. Should be plus half of 20,000. So when you add that one, it should be equal to 159,000. So again, I missed to add that half of 40,000 in my text here. So I want you to add that one. I'm going to correct that on the PowerPoint. I'm going to correct that also on the supplementary documents. Alright, so based on schedule, this one here, we calculate that based from the Gantt chart. So here, from this Gantt chart here, this is the dividing line. That's a 3.5 months mark. All your framing, your rough electrical and rough plumbing, they are all half based on schedule. And site work 1, fencing 2, paving 3, excavation 4, and foundation 5 should have been completed. That's why you will notice here that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And based from here, we have 3 halves, your framing, rough electrical, rough plumbing. And that gives you here 1, 2, 3. And this will equal to $161,000. So we already have now your ACWP, BCAC, BCWP, BCWS. Plug in now to our equation. For your schedule variance, we plug in the value of your BCWP minus your BCWS, and that will give you 159 minus 161. That gives you negative value, and negative value signify it is less than 0. In that case, the project is behind schedule. Again, we have another alternate. We call it the SPI, Schedule Project Index. That is the ratio between your BCWP and BCWS. We divide this value to this, and it gives us 0.99, which is less than 1. It's slightly behind schedule. So again, these two formulas, they must be consistent. If you use the first formula, it tells you behind schedule, and if you use the second formula, of course, it should be consistent. It should tell you also it is behind schedule as well. Alright, in terms of the cost variance, we plug in the value BCWP minus ACWP equal to 159 minus 152. We're getting those from our calculation here. Alright, from there we plug in the values, and it tells you here that it is positive, that therefore it is greater than 0. In that case, it says under budget. So where did we get that idea again? Here on our lecture. So here, if your cost variance is greater than 0, that is under budget. If it is less than 0, that is over budget. I might mess up here. Alright, so this one here, it should be less than 0, that is under budget. Greater than 0, that should be over budget. Alright, so in this case here, okay, in this problem, we have here greater than 0. Oh, alright. So if it is greater than 0, that means it is under budget. So which means this is correct. Alright, so here, if your cost variance is greater than 0, it is under budget. If it is less than, over budget. Alright, so going back here, use the second formula. It should tell you as well the same condition or the same assessment on the status. It is both under budget. So you divide those two values, greater than 1 or greater than yes, it's greater than 1, it should be under budget. So what about the percent complete? The percent complete is just a ratio between your BCWP and your BCAC. Plug into your equation, it gives us here 0.62, or that is 62%. So during your presentations on your meeting, you could tell them it is 62% because you base that from your calculations. And to determine the estimated cost of completion, plug into our equation ACWP plus the difference between your BCAC and the BCWP. So at completion, we have based from the status that we are in, it gives you 250,000. Based on our actual cost, 257, okay, at completion. So we have here based here, if we maintain the status of our project, we'll be able to save at least about 7,000 by the time that we complete, okay, the project. So there's a difference of 7,000. So if you be able to improve the productivity rate of your workers, you maybe even lower this value here, and that signified that you may have more savings for the projects. Alright guys, that is the earn value analysis that we use to determine the status of the project. And once again, if you have any question, reach out to me, send me an email, and I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as I can. I uploaded a supplementary documents on Blackboard, and you should be able to follow along with that documents, and that helps you and guide you in doing the calculations. Alright, so that's it for now, and let me know if you have any questions. Alright, thank you guys.